Hi everyone, welcome back to the Devil Circuit channel. You're here with me, Zeba Zaidi, and we are at another edition of Sports Talk. With me today is yet another sporting athlete who is inspiring, who has done amazing, achievements in her career, and it is my absolute pleasure to bring her now. She is none other than the founder and CEO of the She Kicks Football Academy, which is the first football academy exclusively for girls in our country. A much needed initiative and long time coming. She's also the lead ambassador of the Loughborough University Alumni Committee India chapter. Um, to introduce her, I think there is no better way than to say that she's also the only Indian person to have played in the English Premier League. She was the goalkeeper for the West Ham United ladies team. She was the first Indian to do so. Obviously, she has been representing Indian national women's football team for over 10 years as a goalkeeper. She recently got the title of the Indian Women's League 2019-20. She was part of the team that brought back the Champions Trophy from South Asian Games in 2016 and 19 and represented India at the Asian Games in 2014. There is a lot more I can say to introduce her, but you know what? Let's bring her on board and let's hear it straight from her how she managed to get all of this done and she's not done yet. Welcome with me, Aditi Chauhan.
Hi, Zeba. Thank you. Thank you for the long introduction. Glad
I,
you.
I
I think you
actually,
covered my whole CV now.
no, I actually, omitted so many things because I thought for the next minutes, I'll just be talking about, how cool you are and what all you've achieved, and we won't get a chance to speak to you directly. But so good to have you with us this
Thank you
evening.
for having me. It's my pleasure.
So, Ariti, like I said, there is a lot that I've missed out, and there is, for
Mhm.
somebody who is, such a high achiever and who's done so much in such a little amount of time. Uh, what has it been like over the last 3 months to be cooped up?
It's been very, very difficult. Honestly, I was in Bangalore in the initial phase of the lockdown. I'd gone there after the IWL season where we won with Gokulam to do a little bit of my rehab. I had small niggles after the tournament, so I thought I'll do my rehab there. And I didn't expect it to be so serious, so I decided, let me just stay. Maybe it's just for a few days. I'll stay there and continue with my rehab and strength and conditioning and then I can come back whenever I want. So that didn't actually go as per the plan. I got stuck there, but I think it was fortunate because after the IWL, I was on a break and I was not really working out as much as I should be. So while I was there, I was staying with my friend who was a physiotherapist, so there was no getting out of training. So we had a very hardcore sessions planned every day. We had 2 sessions planned, rehab plus strength and conditioning. So I think I made good use of the time during this lockdown. So it kept us busy, and also it's helped me come out of this lockdown fitter and stronger.
Well, no better lockdown partner than a physiotherapist for an athlete.
Of
I think
course, yeah,
you a goal
definitely.
there on that.
Yeah, I would consider myself lucky in that aspect. I could have been alone, and you can go through so many emotions, which might take you to one direction where you're completely focused, or it can
Yeah.
go take you to completely other direction where you're just lethargic. You just don't want to do anything. So, fortunately for me, because I had not just one, two physiotherapists at home, I had no choice but to follow their instructions.
So you're one of those rare people who will come out fitter and stronger after the lockdown.
Yes.
You didn't binge watch Hotstar and Netflix and eat tons of good food. So,
Right.
so with lockdown, obviously, you worked on yourself and you got a wonderful opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Now you're also an entrepreneur. You are
Yes.
the CEO of She Cakes. How
Yeah.
did you manage? How did you manage running that remotely? How did you manage keeping everybody motivated and everybody
Right.
training with this
Yeah.
lockdown? How did you
Well,
deal with?
actually, when the lockdown started, obviously our academy right currently is in Gurgaon, and it's within a school, so we also had to shut it because the schools were shut. But I think what I realized over time is that this lockdown period, apart from working out and working on my fitness, it's also given me time to actually plan better and plan ahead for She Kicks. What's the next thing? What's How do I take this forward? How do I make this bigger and better? Which the time that I needed for She Kicks, I wasn't able to get in the past couple of months, and especially a year or two, because of my extensive sort of involvement with the national team. We've been really busy traveling. We've been playing a lot of tournaments with the national team in the past 2 years. So I haven't been able to dedicate as much time as I would have liked. Um, so I think with this lockdown, I think it's worked in my favor to a lot of extent. I was able to dedicate a lot of my time to play planning for She Kicks. That is the reason why now we have come up with an online program. Obviously, the work that we've been doing in the past 1 or 2 years has been incredible. We've been getting a lot of support, and I thought it's important that we don't let this this current phase affect the progress that we've made. And that is why we've come up with a holistic sort of program where, because while growing up, I knew that there are a lot of things that an athlete needs, not
Right.
just football technique and skill, but also knowledge regarding nutrition, strength and conditioning, how your strength and conditioning, your fitness work needs how it should be on the season and off the season. And also obviously leadership development skills is again one thing that I feel is extremely important, especially in a game like football, where
Yeah.
every player is a leader in themselves. And because of the current the competition that football's grown, has taken major strides in the last few years, and there's a lot of competition, a lot of people playing football, so you have to have some extra elements, some extra qualities that helps you stand out of the crowd. So that is why I've worked with all these experts from all these fields, and I've brought a whole curriculum together, a holistic program for young budding footballers, or enthusiasts, to take part into it, and help improve and keep working on everything for a holistic development.
And I think you're absolutely right. When one thinks of coaching, one tends to just focus on the actual sport,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
technique of how you play, how you get better. So,
yeah,
how do you get better with your footwork? How do you kick
yeah,
harder? How do you use the right part of your foot to make the ball go whichever way?
yeah.
But it's also right for an athlete to be really truly successful. It takes a lot more than just that.
Exactly, and I feel for a holistic living, for a overall healthy living, it's very important. And I realized the importance of these aspects quite late in my career, which I feel is often overlooked by a lot of the academies, a lot of coaches. And that is the reason why the things that I've learned from my experiences of playing in India, playing in abroad, I wanted to bring it all together and provide a program that's completely different, that's unique, and that covers all these aspects. Because ultimately, not everybody who plays football can make it to the top level, can make it at a pro level. It's very important to take these soft skills, these life skills out of football, and use this in whatever career that one might choose in the future.
Yeah, and I think, personally, what I've seen as a shift in sport, especially in India, is that whereas earlier sport was something you did only to try and get better at it from a perspective of wanting to be that sports person. Now a lot of people are
Yeah,
turning to sports as a means of leading a fitter lifestyle. You're absolutely
right.
right in that respect. I might not want to be a professional footballer. I might know that
Yeah,
I have no inspiration, but football gives me a lot of cardio. It gives me a lot of
yeah,
ways to remain fit and be active, versus just going to the gym and running on a treadmill.
yeah,
I get so much fun on a field. I get to hang out with my friends and I get to burn a tons of
exactly.
calories. So
Yeah.
that is what a lot of people are coming to. But what is unique about what you're doing, at least to my mind, is a lot of athletes turn to coaching once they're done with their playing
Yeah,
career. So once they
right,
have retired, that is kind of becomes a very natural segue for them to get into it.
right.
You, however, are still an active athlete yourself. You're still
Yeah.
playing football. So how did She Kicks come about? What motivated you to get started on creating an initiative this cool whilst you were
Um,
still?
Well, actually, when I was so while growing up, I never had a platform or a training facility where I could go and train throughout the year. There was no place where I could work on my skills, on my techniques throughout the year. And this was a time when I'd gone abroad for my studies to study sports management in Loughborough University, and I knew the reason why I chose sports management back then when there were no sort of these sports courses being offered in India, and we didn't know what the future is going to be like in the sports industry.
So,
So the idea was that I was so passionate about sports. I knew that I wanted to have a career in sports even when I stopped playing football. So, but I didn't know how I'm going to get involved and how I'm going to contribute to it. So while I was abroad, I was playing for West Ham. I was in my second season with West Ham, and I got an ACL tear in my knee, and I had to come back and get my rehab and everything. And I was away for a couple of years, 2 3 years, and I thought, things might have developed, might have changed. There was a lot, because when I played for West Ham the first season, there was a lot of talk about, there was a lot of media coverage in India as well as in the UK, and I thought that would have affected, or that would have helped change a lot of opportunities for women, for girls. But when I came back, I realized not much had changed, although there have been a lot of talk, but not much has happened on the ground. So
right.
I thought, instead of just waiting, sitting and waiting for someone else to take an initiative to realize the potential of women's football in India, why don't I try and set something up, maybe in a small scale, maybe a small initiative, but at least I will have that satisfaction that I'm trying to make a contribution. So that is with that idea, I started She Kicks on a very small scale. But I think over the years, I think it's been almost 1.5 2 years. We've got a lot of support. We've been recognized by UNESCO for contributing in SDG 3, which is providing equality, working in equality and women empowerment through sports. So we've got a lot of, obviously there's been a lot of media coverage as well. But the idea with this academy is really to provide this platform to girls across India, and not just. So right now we have a center in Gurgaon, but in hopefully in the coming years we'll go pan India, and more girls will have this opportunity.
And how does this work? So is there a criteria for somebody wanting to join your academy? Is there
The
a
only
shortlisting?
criteria is that you should be passionate about football. You should love football. That's the only sort of criteria for admission.
And what age group do your students usually come from? So
The age
are they
group.
school kids? Yeah, the age group.
Yeah,
What
so
is
most
the
most of the girls right now are school kids, but like I said, we've made some plans to offer this platform to anybody, any age group, any woman or girl who's passionate about sports, who's passionate about football, and wants to participate.
That's very interesting. And I mean, I have a 10-year-old son who plays football. He lives, sleeps, drinks football. That is his only mission in life. And then he is convinced that he's going to do something in football, whether he's going to play or I don't know. He wants to. His
Yeah.
ambition right now is to buy the Chelsea Football Club, and I'm not
Oh,
dissuading
wow.
him because. But the point I'm
Why not?
making is with kids these days, and this was
Yeah.
definitely not the case in my times, and I don't think that was the case when you were a school kid yourself. They now have a lot of exposure through television
Yes.
to a lot of pitches, to a lot of clubs, and in
Yeah.
the West. So they know their Bundesliga and they know their La Liga and they know obviously
Yeah. Yeah.
IPL and so on.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a lot of following for football. All kinds of all the different leagues, all the different countries. And there's a huge craze. I think there's a major shift from of supporters from cricket to now football, which is now slowly becoming the most popular sport in India.
Absolutely. And how much of an impact do you think that has on our potential to actually make a mark? Because we've had the Sunil Chetris and the Baichung Bhutias who've come up and done incredible
Yeah,
things at the national level. But somehow when it comes to international football, we're still left far behind. I
yeah,
think we ranked number 50, if I'm not mistaken, in
yeah. The
football when it
women's
comes
team is ranked. The women's team is ranked 50th, but I think the men's team is currently ranked 100 or 101 something. Not sure.
Correct. So our women's team is still so much better. So how do you
Yeah.
see this unfolding over the next few years with with this amazing interest in the sport, a lot more kids now aspiring to be footballers, a lot of academies, opening up to support them. How do you
Right.
see this unfolding over the next few years for India?
I think there's a huge potential. Obviously, we've come a long way in the past couple of years, especially with the ISL, which is the professional league that has come up and is incredibly lucrative for young footballers now. They get good amount of good contracts, good lucrative contracts to actually see this as a profession and not just as a hobby anymore. And I
Right.
think with the under 17 World Cup that we India hosted, the Boys World Cup that we hosted in 2017, brought a
Mhm.
lot of attention, a lot of support to football and helped, really in terms of like the boost in terms of people getting interested in getting into football. Similarly, I think for women's football also, we've been given the right to host the Under 17 Women's World Cup, which was going to be hosted this year, but because of the current situation, it's postponed to next year, early next year. And then we've also got the rights to host the AFC Asia Cup in 22, which so with these mega events or these big events that are going to be hosted by India, I think that it will again bring a lot of attention, a lot of media coverage, a lot of eyes from other countries also towards the potential of women's football in India. It will give immense exposure to the girls, to the girls who are playing in these teams, but also to the younger girls who are looking up to be professional footballers. So I think it's
Right.
going to be a major boost, these tournaments, and for us as national team players, it brings a lot of responsibility on our shoulders to define the future of women's football in India. Because, like I said, there's going to be a lot of coverage, a lot of supporters, a lot of eyeballs on our performance during these events. So it's really important that we put up a good show and prove that why we've been saying that Indian women's football team has the potential to reach the World Cup before the men's team. So this is the time where we actually have to prove ourselves.
Absolutely. And I mean, whichever sport you take, and football is no different. The women's team always gets the short end of the stick. There is always more visibility, more funding, more support that's traditionally been given to men across the board in every country pretty much. How
Right.
does India compare? Having
Yeah.
having worked and having played for an English team and having spent a considerable amount of time there,
Yeah.
when you look at the Indian ecosystem when it comes to the support that female athletes get, not just in football but perhaps
Right.
across the board, how do you think we compare, and what are the
Right.
things that you see changing, if any, over the last few years?
I think things have changed dramatically in the past few years. We've seen because of our women athletes' performance at international level. Sindhu, Saina Nehwal. We've seen Manika Batra doing extremely well, and a lot of athletes, Hima Das, a lot of women
Mhm.
athletes have been doing really well, and that have caught the attention of corporates, have got the attention of sponsors, and they've now got some amazing offers, have got some amazing sponsors. Obviously, we still have a long way to go. We still have a lot of work to do in terms of, so all these individual sports are still very sort of lucrative and where your performance really speaks, and you get immediate returns in that sense. But team sport is something that requires extra attention, extra effort. Um, and that's something that still needs to be worked on. Obviously, the women's cricket team is doing extremely well, but when it comes to football, I think more support needs to be provided to the players, because we don't have a professional league in India that runs throughout the year. We have a league which is more like a tournament which goes on for a month, but then there are not enough competitions happening. There are not enough sort of avenues where the girls who are playing football can constantly get money or and see it as a profession, as a full-time profession. So that isn't there yet. But over with this league, also the professional league, it's come a long way since the first edition. This was, I think, the fourth or the fifth edition this year, sorry, last year. And So we still have a long way to go, but we're moving in the right direction. I think we're hopeful that with this Under 17 World Cup and the AFC Asia Cup, that will bring in, that will open up the eyes of our corporates, of the sponsors, to support women footballers as well, and have maybe these ISL and I League clubs to make a team for women's team in the IWL. That is again going to be very, very important for the development of this sport as well.
Yeah, and I guess that's really true. And you are somebody who's done a master's in sports management. So let me talk to you about the business of sport, as it were. Now,
Yeah.
I follow EPL very closely. I've lived in England for 10 plus years, and I got addicted to the whole football scene, where
Yeah.
every weekend, you sit in front of the television, or you plonk yourself in a
Yeah.
stadium and you an amazing match getting played. Um, and what I feel in India is, because the leagues are run for such a short duration, there isn't enough time for a player, no matter how good they are, to find
Yeah.
a connect with enough people to create a fan following.
Right.
Uh, even if I watch football and I watch the football league play out, it's for a few weeks in the year. So unlike an EPL or unlike any other professional football league anywhere in the Western world, here the duration is so small that before I can even start to identify with the players in my team and start to understand them and understand their skill set and start following them, the league is over. In 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
So is it a chicken and egg situation? Because obviously we can't play for longer because we don't have that much support, either in terms of resources or enough competition happening or enough championships. But then the pro of that is, if we did, then we would build up enough ticketing revenue and we would have enough fans, and perhaps we could establish clubs a little more forcefully. So
Yeah.
which way do you think we need to
I think, in my opinion, I feel that it's unfair to compare the current situation of football in India to EPL, or what the situation is in the UK, because the history
Right.
of football in UK has been very, very long. India has just started developing football, has just started professionalizing the game, and of course the ecosystem, the culture, the environment in India of sports industry also is evolving. It's getting professional. So
Right.
we are also trying to figure out what way works for us. Even with the league, we've been trying to figure out how do we manage ISL and the I League. What's the best way to sort of professionalize this sport, and get the supporters who can really relate to these clubs. Um,
Yeah.
so since the first ISL edition to this year edition, a lot has changed. Similarly with the IWL, since the first edition to this edition, a lot has changed. A lot of improvements have been made. But like I said, we still have a long way to go. With the IWL, it is extremely important that we lengthen the duration of the league. Similarly, with the ISL, there have been regular talks. There have been a lot of discussions happening. There's been a lot of suggestions being taken from FIFA, as well as AFC, to help us find a solution in terms of what's the best way forward for keeping in mind the Indian culture, the Indian sports industry environment, and of course the interest of the corporates, the supporters, and all the stakeholders within the sport and within the industry. So it's like I said, so it's unfair to compare it with UK, where obviously, like you said, it's difficult to not get into that sort of culture and that environment, because there's the fans in England are, they feel that the club belongs to them, and you
Absolutely.
just sort of, you can't stay away from
Well,
that
football
feeling.
is
You
all
just get
pervasive.
deeper.
You can't not be
Yeah,
affected by football living there.
exactly. So that will still take time for that feeling to develop in India. That is the feeling probably that the supporters have in for cricket, for IPL. But I think it's slowly developing. I have seen a lot of change in terms of the supporters' outlook, the kind of supporters, hardcore supporters. Some of these ISL clubs have got some real hardcore supporters. If you see any of these Kerala Blaster matches, it's packed stadium. uh, 40, 50,000 supporters
Yeah.
filling the stands most in a lot of these matches. Similarly, with Bangalore FC, they've got West Block Blues, who are incredible supporters, and a lot of these other clubs also have great fan base. So I feel it is developing, although it will take few more years, few more initiatives, events like the Under 17 World Cup now, and I'm sure we would want to host many such big events to keep that engagement for a longer duration.
Sure, no, I think that makes sense. And yes, that is a valid point. I mean, if you look at these countries, they have had a very long history of that sport being played and
Yeah,
being broadcast. So yeah, that's a fair point. Um, let's go back to the start of your career with football. When you started, and this was something that you did not exclusively, right? You also played basketball.
yeah,
You also were a karate follower.
yeah. Yeah, I've got a
What
black
level
belt in
did you get
karate.
up to with karate?
Black belt.
Black belt. My God.
Yeah.
So again, the dichotomy of karate, which is a solo sport, which is
Yeah,
something that you do on your own, to football, which is a complete team sport, the
yeah,
complete shift, and having
yeah.
excelled at both. What did you learn from each? What are the learnings that you got from each? Something that you did on your own and something that involved a huge team effort for you to succeed.
Right. So when I was younger, I've played almost all sports because I was one of those kids that was very athletic. So so my school teachers used to put me in every team that had a competition or that had to participate in a competition. So I'm fairly decent in all the sports, I would say. So karate, I was actually very good at it because I played a lot of tournaments there, and the kumite, which is the fight part of karate. In these tournaments, I've got a lot of medals. But when I played football, with the first competitive match that I played, um, it's a completely different feeling that I had. You can say I just fell in love with the game, with the position as well as a goalkeeper, because I felt that what the position demanded related very closely with my personality as well. So I thought, because as a goalkeeper, you have to be a leader. You have to
Mhm.
be skillful. Obviously, you have to be very fit, but mentally, you have to be extremely, extremely tough. Because it is ultimately a thankless job. You can make 1,000
Of
good
course.
saves, but people will remember the one bad save or one goal that you conceded. So it is a thankless job. Against it demands a lot of mental strength. Um, and of course, as a goalkeeper, you have the advantage of shouting and yelling at your teammates, and you can't be, you can't, they can't talk back to you. So that's an
Right.
advantage. So I love the position. I extremely fell in love with the game and this position. And I left all the other sports. My karate coach was actually a little angry when I decided to not pursue karate anymore. But I think he understood. I remember one thing. So my basketball coach was in fact the person who introduced me to football, and he said, there's a trial. Why don't you go and give trials? And I came back. When I came back from that tournament, I spoke to him about what sport should I pursue. I was already in 11th class by then, and so I was having this conversation with him, and I remember he just said one thing. He just asked me, what do you want to do? Do you want to be an average in different sports, I mean multiple sports, or do you want to excel in one sport? And for me, the answer was very clear. That's been a part of my personality, that whatever I do, I need to excel in it. I want to be the best at it. So the answer was very clear, very simple for me, that I chose football, and I didn't know how far I could go. Obviously, there was no sort of pathway to make it to the national team or play professionally. There was no sort of that kind of opportunity. But love is blind is probably what has happened with football. And I just thought, I'll play this sport only, and see how far I can go. Unfortunately, it's worked out really well for me.
So, what was the trajectory for somebody who wants to aspire to be a footballer?
Right.
Obviously the benchmarks that you see is get good at obviously your school first, get into the
Yeah.
team, then look at the state level, then the national level. How do you then make a jump from an international career, being part of your national team, to playing for a club? How did West Ham happen for you?
So West Ham was actually, so I was, while I was studying, I was also playing for my university at Loughborough, and I got an internship in London with Decathlon. And once I moved there, I knew that there were loads and loads of clubs, loads of opportunities where I can get involved at multiple level, whether I want to play as an amateur, as a semi-pro, or at a pro level. And there were lots of clubs. I'm sure you've been in England. You know the amount of opportunities that there are. And I thought now that I'm in London, why don't I go and give trials at different places? So I found out the club that was closest to me, which was Millwall FC. But
Hmm.
I was still on student visa, and that was a
Right.
semi-pro club, second division club. So I went and gave trials for a couple of weeks, and when they selected me, and when they were doing the online registration, they found out that since I was on student visa, I could not play for a semi-professional club. So the
Right.
goalkeeper coach of Millwall, he was also a part-time goalkeeper coach at West Ham, which was a third division club back then. So he suggested that the West Ham club was also looking for a goalkeeper. Why don't you go and give trials there? So I went there, gave trials again for a couple of weeks, and fortunately got selected in the first team as the first choice goalkeeper. And that's basically how it all happened. So I wouldn't say that there was any sort of set pathway that was there, that some, because I was the first girl to actually play for a Premier League club. um, so there wasn't a defined path that I could have taken, that
Hmm.
I could have maybe spoken to someone who's already done this before, because there was no one like that. And purely out of the passion and love for the game, I found out my own way. I created my own path, push all the boundaries, to try different things, see what works. I never really got any support from apart from my family. I didn't really have any supporters in terms of any corporates backing me, or any sports consultant backing me, or any
Right.
expert who would guide me a little bit. I figured out my way on my own, completely on my own. I've gone through all the struggles, ups and downs that came with this whole journey, all by myself, obviously along with my family. So they've been a constant support, and I'm very, very grateful and fortunate to have a very supportive family who's stuck with me through all this, and has always motivated me to keep pushing myself. It's never really said, maybe it's enough, maybe you just need to relax a little bit, and
Well,
do a
in
normal
return,
thing.
you've obviously done them proud, and
Yeah,
I'm sure they, they, when they look back at all the decisions they took with regards to how you flourished and how you pursued football, I'm sure they look back at it with amazement and pride as well. Um, but with it sounds easy when you talk about
yeah,
it, like things just fell into place and things happen. But of course, it doesn't work like that in real
yeah,
life. When you are carving that path for yourself, and when you're taking those decisions, and when you're trying to figure out your own sort of career path, uh,
yeah,
there are more downs than ups. The ups are
yeah,
the ones everybody remembers and
yeah,
sees, and that is what makes it all worthwhile in the end. But you need to have a very, very strong mental core to be able to
yes,
take the downs on your, take those knocks on your chin and get back up.
absolutely.
um,
Yeah,
the worst down for anybody is a debut,
yeah,
and your debut not going well. And I think your debut at West Ham went as badly as one could imagine in
yeah,
their worst nightmares.
yeah.
How did you deal with that? What happened? What happened at that match?
Well, I think the team where we were playing against was a higher division club, and we were playing an away game. This was my first match, and playing in India, the kind of the match intensity, the physicality, understanding the game is so different, and was so different compared to how it was in England. The attitude that these players had, the physicality that they brought on the field was just incredible. And it took me a while to actually, get myself up to that level, get myself ready for that intensity. I remember in the first few training sessions, when I went to West Ham, we were just playing rondo, which is single touch in a circle. And
Yeah,
I just we all of us had just come into the practice, and I was just taking it lightly and enjoying myself. And these girls, just the ones in the middle, or who were in the middle, they started sliding tackle and trying to get the ball, and got really physical and all that. And I was really shocked and taken aback. I was like, wow, we're just warming up right now. But that made me realize with what kind of mental attitude they come on the field. As soon as you're here on the pitch, it's go time. It's like you're going to be performing on in the match.
yeah,
That's the attitude, that's the physicality that they brought with them right from the start. It's not like they slowly develop and set themselves through the training session. It's go time, and it's you're there, you're on the pitch, you're there for 1.5 hours. They just go all out right from the start. And all of these experiences were really, really important. And that helped me after that, the 2 seasons with West Ham. I think it brought me and took me to a whole different level than I was before the West Ham experience.
and how do you bring those learnings into your coaching career? How do you teach the girls at She Kicks
Yeah,
how to be not aggressive but that powerful?
yeah,
Because I know what you're talking about. The
right.
mental attitude of how you approach a game
Yes,
can make
yes,
or break it, and that
yeah,
is so much more powerful than just a physical skill of
yeah,
being able to play that sport. So
yeah.
how do you condition that? Because as
So,
Indians, we
right.
are taught to be nice to
Yes,
people. That
yeah,
is your reflex action. Don't be
right.
aggressive. Don't be in somebody's face.
Yeah,
Be nice. Be polite. But you have to essentially change that whole persona when you're
yeah,
on the field
yes,
and be
yes.
this really aggressive player who only wants to
Hmm.
succeed. How do you condition yourself mentally to do that?
So initially, the first few sessions where we've hired coaches, and I was there to see how they coach and how the sessions went. And I remember this exactly the same thing where it is a physical sport, it is a contact sport. So obviously, there's going to be a lot of falls, a lot of hitting each other by mistake, obviously not intentionally. Um, but how do you react to it? So a lot of these times I saw my coaches saying, "Arey aram se, thoda aram se." I said, why? No, there's no aram se
Uh,
here. Are you good if you're playing a match? This is how you build the player, right? It's from the
yeah,
grassroots. Why do we say the grassroots level is so important? Because that's where you shape that player, you mold that player into what they're going to be in the future when they grow up. So for me, I had to do a lot of counseling, a lot of work with the coaches also. That it's when they're playing a match, are you going to stop the opponent and say, "Arey, arey, aram se"? That's not going to happen. And it's not practical. It's not going to happen in a match. It's not going to happen in life also. You can't, the challenges, the obstacles that come your way, you can't request them ki thoda chota ho jao, ya take it easy on me. It's going to be how it is. You have to learn, you have to adapt yourself, you have to be strong. um, and only when you work on these things on the pitch, that's what the girls will, and the kids will develop mentally also. That it's okay, you have to move on, you have to get up, dust yourself, and then move on. Maybe try and be a little stronger next time. So
yeah.
that's what I try to. We've worked extremely hard with the coaches as well as with our kids to work on these things, because it is a very common thing. And even our parents, I remember even when I was young, we were always, "Arey, chot nahi lag jayegi." If you're running on the road, they'll be like, "Arey, slow down, don't." I mean, that's something that needs to change. Let them explore, let them do different things, let them get hurt. They will learn from it. And that's how we prepared in She Kicks also. And that's something that I've learned from West Ham, from my experience abroad. And that is one element, one aspect that just comes to my mind immediately when we talk about what the element that I've taken from the experience abroad.
Yeah, and that's so true. I think, our whole conditioning, and more so, I feel for girls, boys are still expected to run around and,
Yeah,
get up to all kinds of mischief. But as a girl, as a kid, as a young girl child, you're expected to kind of slow down. You're right, and
Yeah,
you're expected to take care of yourself better and ensure that you're not putting yourself in a situation where you may end
yeah.
up getting hurt. And that translates into your real life completely.
And
The
I'll just add to
personality that
that.
you develop.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. When I was growing up, I was the only kid who used to play with all the boys around. And fortunately, my parents, obviously, sometimes they used to say, Ki, you're the only girl, why are you playing? Kali ho jayegi. Then we used to play cricket a lot. But they never really stopped me. It's not like they would say, nahi, aaj nahi jana. Yeah, there's no other girl, why are you going? So I've never had
Right.
that sort of restriction from my parents. And that's really because I was playing with boys all the time. It made me rough, it made me athletic, it made me very strong both physically and mentally, because the boys don't take it easy on you when you're playing against them. So, and I didn't want that also. I wanted to compete against them. If they are the best, I want to compete against them. And that's really helped me become the person that I am today, and that's helped me learn these things, look back and sort of reflect, get these insights, and that is how that's the philosophy that we've created with She Kicks, and that's how I want my kids who are training in my academy to also be.
And do you see that in the parents? Do you see a better, much more
No,
more of an acceptance to this kind of a rugged playtime
not
in parents who
really.
send their kids to
No.
free kicks, or are they also equally protective on the sidelines and saying
Yeah, yeah.
Aram se?
So not really. I don't think they would immediately be that open to this kind of philosophy. Obviously, we have to convince them. We have to work on them also, to tell them all these things. Why we what our philosophy is. Why we're working on these things in this way and not the regular way or the other way. Uh, but I think it will take time for the kids also to understand, for the parents also to understand the need, and why we're doing these things, which is challenging at times to convince every parent to talk to every parent like that. But I think more needs to be done to work on the awareness of the parents. I think that's still missing, because they really are the ones who are the ultimate decision makers for a kid's life and what they do in the future. So I feel that a lot of work needs to be put in terms of grooming and bringing the awareness to the parents, to the modern times, to what the need of current situation in India and the world is, that can help develop a personality that can stand out in today's world.
Right. And I'm going to go back to my list of awards and list of your achievements, and just touch upon that for a moment, which I didn't at the start of this conversation. Now, there's been tons and tons of achievements here for you. You brought that back, the Champions Trophy from South Asian Games 2016-19, part of the team at Asian Games 2014. You were the first player to be honored as the Asian Footballer of the Year 2016. You were part of the team who won the SAF Championship in 2012, 16, and 19, and so much more. Which one of these means the most to you? How do you rank all of these? How do you take all of this in?
It's very difficult to rank, and I always get stuck when this question is asked, because every opportunity that as an athlete, I get to represent my country is an honor, is something that I don't take it that I don't take lightly, or for granted, because I work extremely hard, to be a part of the team, to be the first choice goalkeeper, to make it to the first 11 in every match that I get to play. So it is an
Favorite part of this discussion, which is a rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions,
all right.
and I want you to give me the first answer that's at the top of your head. So these are not
Okay.
one word answers. That we
All
would
right.
get into a discussion, but just give me what you think,
Okay.
is your first reaction. So what is the one thing that keeps you motivated to achieve more? What keeps you going even now about this sport?
The fact that I want to be the best in whatever I'm doing, whether it's on the pitch or off the pitch. As till the time I'm playing, till the time I'm with the national team, I want to be the number one choice goalkeeper. And the day I feel that someone is actually better than me, is it has been and has proved themselves to be better than me, is the day I will happily step down and hang up my boots. But as long as I'm playing, as long as I know I'm performing at my best, is what keeps me pushing further and further. And similarly off the field, I know business is something new for me and my family, because like I said, I come from a military background, so business is nowhere close to what we've been used to. But I'm willing to work hard. I like to work hard, and learn different things, learn through experiences, through my network that I've made over these years. And of course, from the experiences that you don't anticipate, and you come across a lot of situations that you don't really think about them, but teaches you so much. So just the feeling and just the attitude and the focus of being the best in whatever I do.
So if you weren't a footballer, what do you think you would be? I think
Um,
you'd still be a sports person, wouldn't
yeah, I'd
you?
still be a sports person. Maybe tennis player, because my dad was a tennis player, and initially, in the initial few days when before I decided football, he tried to push me towards tennis also. I gave it a few sessions, I gave it a try, but it never felt the same way like I felt for football. So
And
didn't really.
your brother played cricket, but you didn't
He
find
played cricket.
cricket
Yeah, I
fascinating?
played a little bit of cricket. Obviously, growing up as a kid, you can't avoid not playing cricket. So I played a lot of cricket also. But I don't know, cricket competitively never happened. I've never played a competitive match,
Right.
as such. But tennis probably could have been a sport that I probably would have played.
So when you look at sports, since you're such a passionate sports person yourself, who is that one sports person who you look up to, who inspires you? A footballer, or maybe somebody outside of football? Who are your
Rafael Nadal.
favorites?
Rafael Nadal has been my inspiration, my idol, since I've grown. Because obviously we used to watch a lot of tennis, and both my brother and my father were huge Roger Federer fans. Are huge Roger Federer fans, but I had a different feeling when I watched Rafael Nadal. His passion, his attitude. He's someone who's worked extremely hard, who's come back injury after injury to the same level and better. And he knew that Roger Federer is someone who is naturally skilled, who's naturally talented, but he never gave up on what he can achieve. Kept working hard, and that is something that I really admire and learn a lot from. Because while I was going through my injury, also that kept me away for 9 months from the game. I read all his autobiographies. I've watched a lot of his interviews, and he's someone that I really admire from the bottom of my heart.
Uh, and have you ever got an opportunity to watch him
No,
play live?
unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. But hopefully in the future, you never know.
You
I've
never
I've
know.
been, I've been fortunate to meet my goalkeeping icon, who's Hope Solo, which was also very very random. In Amsterdam, I got to meet her. I didn't even know that she was coming for the event that I'd gone, and once I was there, I realized that she's the special guest in that event.
Wow.
And man, I was starstruck at that moment. I just didn't know what to do, what to say, because just before that, I was reading her autobiography, and it's just amazing how never in my dream I thought I would meet Hope Solo. So you never know, maybe something like that will come true with Rafael Nadal as well.
I hope so. And you must call and tell me because I'm an adult fan as well. So if
All
that
right,
happens, bring me up.
yeah, of course.
So,
And the other way as well. If you happen to come across it, I'll be there in a second.
uh, so what you've done for football, especially women's football, is so inspiring. You're an inspiration not just for women footballers, but all the budding, young girls who have the talent in them and are now getting opportunities to pursue that talent and hopefully do something in football as well when their time comes. Uh, which woman athlete do you find inspiring? Who do you think has raised the bar for Indian sports women, um, at a scale that you've aspired to?
I think PV Sindhu is someone who's performed so well. Who's someone who's balanced her studies and sports, and obviously she's done exceptionally well for India and for herself at international level. So, and she's brought a different kind of attention to badminton, a different kind of what India can achieve in that sport. So she's someone that I really admire. I think she's done incredibly well in all the sectors, in everywhere. She's beautiful, she's strong, she's a great athlete, a great performer, and she covers ticks all the boxes. I think she's exceptional,
Yeah, she does.
and she's
Absolutely.
she's a idol and an inspiration for a lot of young girls, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, this generation is so fortunate because when we were growing up, not only did we not have access to a lot of live sport,
Hmm.
but there weren't that many sports women that one could look at.
Right.
There was PT Usha when I was growing up,
Yeah.
who I used to look up to, and she was an incredible and still is an incredible athlete. But you didn't have a variety of sports women, who played
Right.
different sport to look up to. Whereas
Yeah.
now, you just have to think of a sport, and there's been tremendous work and tremendous achievements that Indian sports women have gone and achieved. So I think in that respect, there is so much that we can imbibe from people like you and your peers in sports. And I think that can only make a positive impact on all these girls who are growing up now and looking at sports as a career. But what is that one advice you would give to somebody who's now where you were maybe 10 years ago and looking to get into professional sport? What would be your advice to them and their family?
My advice to the parents, to the family, is just support your kid in whatever they decide to do, because there is a potential, there is job opportunity. There are so many avenues now, more than ever, in every field, not just sports, in every field now. So, and as a kid, I know when I was younger, the only thing that I requested or I wanted from my parents was their support, was them being by my side, was them just encouraging me in every aspect, helping me go through all the struggles that you have on the field maybe or off the pitch, uh, because as an athlete you go through a lot of ups and downs, and the only thing, obviously, that hard work, your decisions are yours to take, um,
Yeah.
and you have to live with the consequences, you have to deal with them. But it really helps and plays a very, very important role to have someone who's there by your side to help you, guide you through that phase. So to the parents, I would just say, just listen to your kids, be there to support them, rather than telling them, you have to study, you can't play. Even during exams, I think it's really important for the kids to have that 1 hour of exercise, have that fresh air. You can't study
Sure.
24 hours, it doesn't make sense. I played a lot when I had my board exams, and I still I even attended a national team camp for 2-3 months during my 12th, and I scored 93%. So that's not a factor. You
Wow.
can study and you can sit with your books all day, but your focus might be completely somewhere else. So if it's better if you play, get that out of your system and focus when you're studying. So
I
so
think
that's
that's
my
very
experience.
pertinent. That's a very, very pertinent advice because you kind of, especially in board years, you kind of think that everything else except studies should
Yeah,
take a back seat. But you're
yeah,
right. You cannot possibly have the same level of focus throughout the day,
yeah,
and sitting with your books for the n number of hours and not putting in the effort doesn't make
yeah.
sense. So yeah, and there are more and more more
We
and
get
more
a lot of
studies that show
these
that a fitter life,
messages. Yeah, we get a lot of
that
these messages from young girls saying that it's my 12th class, it's my 10th class, my parents don't, it's my exams are going on right now, my parents don't allow me to play. And which is surprising, because I never had that from my parents. My parents never, during my exams also, they never said you can't go out, because I was one of those kids, Jesse 5 baje I have to be on the ground, I have to play. um,
Right.
and I continued that even during my exams. And it's so important. You're so refreshed when you come back. You've worked out. You are mentally and physically fresh. Then it makes a lot of difference in terms of your focus and concentration when you then sit down and study.
And you're on a natural high, you have your endorphins
Yeah,
released and you're feeling good about yourself. So that has to be a good thing when you finish that
yeah,
and come back to studies. So
absolutely.
true. So what other
Yeah,
sports do you religiously follow? You obviously follow tennis because Nadal is somebody
yeah,
that motivates you. Apart from
yeah.
tennis, what sport do we catch you watching?
I can watch any sport. Honestly, any live sport that's going on, I can watch. When I was younger, I used to watch a lot of WWE with my brother, and we used to, act, give all the choke slam and everything to each other. So we've had a lot of fun. Any sport works for me. But just like some sports like golf, which are slow, is something that I'm not very interested. Initially, I didn't even like Formula One, but now I've seen a few series on Netflix, and I think it's so difficult. The sport is extremely challenging, and now it's brought a different kind of excitement to watch Formula One as well. So any live sport, that is little fast, is something that I can watch, but not religiously, probably because I can't keep track of what's happening when. But if I'm watching television, but sports channels are the first channels that I look through.
Yeah, I can believe that. After this conversation, I can believe that's what you would be doing. So, if you were given a chance to be connected on a call with anyone, who would you want to talk to, and what would you talk about? And
Rafael
and
Nadal.
this is non-sport. You cannot talk to a sports person about sport. Apart from
Oh no.
sport, who would you talk to, and what would you talk about? What other thoughts come into your head except sport?
Business. I think these are the two things that come to my mind right now. I would probably talk to someone from the sports business background to help me and give me share some knowledge if I have some issues or challenges in my business right now. I would love to talk to them and get their opinion, get their help and guidance. Anything that expands my knowledge and gives me more experience in what I'm doing currently, both on and off the pitch, is something that I would want. If I can't talk to a sports person, I would talk to a sports business expert.
That's the next best thing, huh? Right.
Yeah,
Um,
it makes sense for me.
okay, so now we're up to the dare. So we every guest that comes to our show has to be given a choice of three dares, and they can choose which one. So we're good like that. We won't force you to do anything. You have a choice.
Okay.
So the first one is you have to make three emoji expressions. Any three, but you have to make an emoji expression. The
Okay.
second is there is a lot of hooting involved in team sports. So you have to scream things that you would do to motivate your team players on the field. So what is it that you would say to them in the heat of the moment? How aggressive do you get? What is it that you scream
I get
about?
very aggressive. All my players, especially my defenders, are very scared of me because I get very aggressive on the pitch, and that's something that we've had a lot of talk about. But it's just so inherent that I can't change. That's just so naturally that comes naturally to me. And during a match, I've not been very successful in changing that, and I don't think it makes sense for me to change that because that's just who I am.
And especially if it's working, why change something that
Yeah.
is working, right? So if that motivates people or scares them into
Yeah, I mean,
being better
it,
players,
wo-
then
it
why not?
helps to it helps to be calm in a lot of times because as a goalkeeper, you have to mentally be calm and because that helps in a lot of your decision making. Um, but when your teammates are not doing and not listening to you and not doing simple things or you feel that they can do better, you just get so aggressive and try to get them to that level, but that might affect sometimes your my performance as well. So it is important to come back quickly to the calm sort of state of mind also.
So that's my second dare. My third dare is for you to say a tongue twister, and I'm going to attempt it so you can follow. And it's she sells seashells on the seashore. which is an easy one. I think my team has picked up.
Yeah.
But choose one. Choose one there.
Wait, I'll try the tongue twister. What is it? Seashell, seashell, on the
She
seashore.
sells seashells on the seashore.
She sells oh shit. she, yeah, I should do an emoji. And I don't think I can do this right now.
To the
Um,
emojis.
yeah. So what is that? That's one emoji.
That's one.
Yeah. That's one or two. Those are different
That's one.
emojis.
That's true. Okay.
And that monkey one where
Oh, that's a very easy one.
so you just said
Oh,
emoji. You
well
didn't
done.
say
We've got
easy
all
at
three on. We've got all three on record. We'll share those with you. Great. So that is it from us. Let's see if we can have any audience questions. There are a lot of people giving us comments who are saying we are inspired. It is an honor for us to be seeing you. Scope of football in a country we've talked about. A lot of people agree with your viewpoint. Yes, it's a thankless job. So okay, people agree with you. I think these are football players who are saying it's being a
yeah.
goalkeeper is a thankless
Goalkeeper.
job. So
There's a goalkeeper union. I'm sure they're goalkeepers. they would
so
they
they
envy
identify
understand
with that sentiment very very strongly. Um, so okay, so what Saisha is saying, we want you to scream booyah. So at Devil Circuit, when we get all pent up with emotion, and this could be an emotion of strength, this could be when we are raring to go, this could be when we are motivating each other. The word that we come up with, the expression that we have is booyah. That is what we say to keep each other going. So let's have you shout it out with emotion and see how you say it.
Booyah. Booyah.
No, not booyah. Booyah! Come on, where's the
Yeah.
emotion?
All right.
Where's the aggression?
Yeah. Ready?
Yeah,
One,
so
two, three, go.
1, 2, 3 on my booyah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much on that note. Big shout out to Aditi Chauhan for joining us today. Big shout out to the All Girls She Kicks Academy. Anybody who's watching, anybody in Gurgaon, please reach out to Aditi if you want to get your daughter enrolled. And I'm
Register for
sure
the
you will
online
not
program.
regret that
Have
decision.
we now are online, so you don't have to be in Gurgaon. You can be anywhere and still be a part of the program.
Excellent. So we will share in the description below. We will share the online details of what link you can click and where you can go and how you can reach out to the She Kicks Academy. But Aditi, you've been fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing so much time and so many of
Thank
your
you. Thank you. I loved it.
experiences.
Really enjoyed myself.
Thank you so much. We look forward to interacting with you again in the future. And of course, we wish you all the very best. We're all going to be rooting for you now, especially more having interacted with you so closely. Um, we know there are more milestones that you're going to hit and more goals that you're going to achieve because you have so much fire in you still. And there's a lot
Yes.
more that you're going to do for the country. We can just absolutely feel that. So, all the very best. Thank you to everybody else for joining me. We look forward to welcoming you next week again when we will be in conversation with Yuvraj Valmiki, who's the Indian national hockey player, a gold medalist, Asian champion, and we've recently seen him in both Fear Factor as well as Khatron Ke Khiladi season 7. So till then, hang in there. Send us your love in the comments if you're watching this post live. Please let us know what you think about the sports talks. Who are the sports persons you would like us to bring, and we will try our level best to make that happen. Thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you again on Tuesday at 8 p.m. at Devil Circuit. Thanks. Bye bye.